everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the AI Best Business Show. Today, I have with me a guest I'm really excited to get on. It's different from what she does is different from the guests I've been having on. You guys hear me speak about fintech, startups, technology. Today, we're going to go into some cooking and the F&B business in a way. Nahlan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh, Nahlan, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and like if if I just met you and you had a minute to give me a pitch of who you are, what would you tell me?
Okay, so I'm the owner of Better from Scratch and Xndoughs, basically two dessert shops based in Lebanon. I started when I was around 20 years old. I was still in university. I was living in New York. I was doing fashion merchandising, and I was in Lebanon only on vacation. And I decided to have a bit of fun from my kitchen, do something low risk until I go back to university. So I decided to start an Instagram page that was based from my house, basically just for delivery, and it was called Better from Scratch. And it took off. This is how I started my business journey. It was basically by mistake, I always say. And yeah, now it grew into two companies.
Here's a question I have. Did you have cooking as a skill when you were a kid, or did it just uh, come up, or like, when was the first time you went into the kitchen and tried baking a cake?
And I had never stepped in the kitchen. Till this day,
Okay.
my mom is still shocked. يعني, I'd never been in a kitchen before. Um, I was actually really bored, and I don't know what it was. I discovered Pinterest. I had never been on Pinterest before. I never heard of Pinterest before, and I started seeing these really cool stuff related to food. Anna, I'm a very artistic person and a different mindset. Like when I was doing fashion, I was doing the business of fashion because I can't draw. So I still have the artistic like part of my mind and creativity and all of this. And I started seeing like food done in different ways. And I travel a lot. So I started like linking all these things together. And I said, why not just go into the kitchen and try? Like doing stuff differently. Like not the traditional stuff,
Yeah.
not the regular flavors. And that's what I started doing. And my friends were loving it. So I was like, why not make a bit of money out of this before I go back?
That's really interesting. I mean, I know a lot of people that have a skill in cooking and they cook really good food, but they don't do anything with that skill, and I'm always surprised. I mean, try doing something. Maybe that work and you'll get a business later on with it. But it's
Yeah.
interesting that you never really cooked in a way, and then you just took this creativity and ma made it into a business.
Yeah.
And when I was listening to your TED talk, you mentioned you went to New York and you started your career there, and then you had a shift of coming back and starting the cooking page. Can we go deeper into that?
Yeah, so basically, like all my life, I've been wanting to work in fashion since I was a kid, and nothing related to business of fashion was ever offered in Lebanon. And I love New York; it's my favorite city in the world. Before I had ever even gone there, so once I wanted to start applying for universities, I convinced my mom to go there for a trip, and I fell more and more in love with it. And at the end of the day, my parents knew, خلص, I had my mind set on working in fashion. Like they weren't gonna like they weren't gonna block my future or be like, no. When I was 18, I was a girl, I was by myself. I did not know anyone in America. So they agreed to, I got accepted to FIT in New York, which is like one of the top fashion like business schools. And so they were like, okay, like we can't do anything about it. Like you just want to go there. And I remember going there and my first semester, I hated it. It was like the worst thing ever. I was so unhappy. New York is tough. I went in winter. And I was like it was so bad basically. And my parents were like just come back, like just go to university in Lebanon. I'm like, no, like I set my mind to this. I'm not gonna leave from here. And then it ended up being the best experience of my life. It changed me so much as a person living there by myself, one of the like scariest cities in the world, I would say.
Yes.
But I felt like once I started to learn more about the industry, and no offense to anyone who works in fashion, but I realized it's not for me. Like it's not I don't want to talk about it, but I realize it's not for me. It's the best way to
Okay.
put it, basically. And so I was actually interning in like a big fashion department store in Lebanon, and I took a semester online. I was a bit homesick. I got the opportunity here as an internship, and my internship was only for a month. So once that was over, I was really bored, and I started like going on Pinterest and checking all of that. And once I started doing it and realizing like the more I was in the kitchen, the like I was so happy. I was so happy creating. I was so happy coming up with cool like new things. But I kept taking my classes online until I graduated. So it took me 2 years, I think, still. I'd go back and forth like summer, winter, take some courses in New York,
Okay.
do my semesters online here. And then once I graduated, I opened my first shop.
Here's a question I have. You spoke before. You went to New York. You traveled, and you mentioned that you traveled a lot. You've seen how different countries do stuff differently in a creative way. How has that helped you shape a different mentality from people around you? And I think it's important when people travel, they see how stuff are done differently in a creative way. It changes their
Yeah.
mindset of their way of thinking to do stuff. So, like,
Like
is there a specific story where you could tell us, oh, this happened and that left a remark in my head?
I don't think it was just one specific thing. The thing is, I love traveling and I travel by myself and I travel with family. I used to take a lot of solo trips. And I like going to places that are very different culturally than where I live.
Right.
So, for example, I've been to places in the Far East, I've been to the Philippines, I've been to Sri Lanka, I've been to South Africa, I've been to places like this, and seeing the culture there, seeing the food there, seeing the different like creativity over there, and things opened my eyes to a lot of things and to like culturally as well. So I feel like my interaction with people, my social skills changed a lot once I started to travel, once I started going to like these places that are different.
Okay.
It, it shaped me, it changed me as a person as well.
You said what you planned to be what you thought would take you 2 days to start, took you 2 months. When you started better from scratch. Tell me the
Yeah.
story.
So basically, like in my head, I'm just like I'm doing this from my house. Like it's so easy. Like what is it gonna take? Like I started an Instagram page and like that was it. But then I realized I have to like decide on which products I'm gonna sell. I can't just sell anything and decide every single day.
Right.
I started because I didn't know anything. So I basically knew zero about the F&B industry. I did not have anyone to look up to or ask. I had no family that's worked in the industry before. So I started doing my research, trying to find suppliers because I'm not going to be going like to the supermarket and buying stuff. It's not going to make sense either. So having to like call them and get the pricing and do costing and do all these things and like managing basically social media, deciding how I'm going to deliver my stuff, buying boxes, doing my inventory. So that's all took a lot of work. And I was still like, I didn't have a business background basically at all
Okay.
either.
What you said is really interesting. I'm a big believer that when you want to start any business, you don't have to have a business background. You have to go and do stuff and you learn throughout the way. And this has been your journey throughout. You didn't have any business background. You didn't know how to cook. You started cooking in the kitchen. Then
Yeah.
you figured out how to speak to suppliers. You figured out how to do deliveries, how to do this, do that, and then you learned along the way and you built systems going through. Uh, you started working from your house. How long did you work from your house before you opened the store?
So I started from my house. It was December of 2014 was when I opened. I was supposed
Okay.
to go back to New York January 2015. Um, I ended up taking another semester online. I think I kept working from my house until 2016. Yeah, December 2016 actually was when I first opened my shop. So I graduated in May and then I opened my shop in December, basically.
Okay. I I want to speak a little bit about the business side, getting supplies, figuring out delivery logistics. Uh, how did you find suppliers first? Like, where did you look for suppliers when you started looking?
So I remember just going on Google and being like distributor of like, for example, X brand or whatever. And then I would start like talking to these suppliers. And then, for example, it'd be like, I don't have this. You can talk at, or ask this place or that place. And then it was just one thing after the other. And also when I was working from my house, there used to be like a really famous food festival that they used to do in Lebanon.
Okay.
And I remember participating in that and then meeting so many people in the industry, which ended up helping a lot. Like I met someone who does ice cream, for example. I met someone who does like other types of food, and then they'd be like, "Oh, you can talk to this supplier, this person, or this person." So like slowly, I ended up making my connections this way.
Okay. Um, what are challenges you faced throughout? Like when you started doing stuff, what are big challenges you faced when you were launching and getting exposure to people?
When I first launched, especially because I did not expect to get the hype that I did, I got around like 600 orders in a month, and I'm just like,
Wow.
shit. Basically was my reaction. And so I was taking classes. I was taking 5 classes online. And I remember like the classes online are a lot more work than actually being in university. So that was one of my main challenges, keeping up with that. Because like I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to like studying and whatever. And I graduated with a 3.9 GPA at the end. Like I used to get like depressed if I didn't do well. So that was a challenge one. And then at the same time, like being able to keep up with everything. So like I'm getting orders for different days, being able to keep track, details for customers, talking to people, posting on social media, because that was my only way to promote my business basically.
Right.
So I was relying heavily on that as well. Um, keeping track of like deliveries, like if there's like any logistics, because I was doing all this by myself. So like if the delivery guy was late, if something happened to the order, I had to deal with it afterwards. I had to come up with new products. So like all of this was going on. And like I felt like 24 hours was such little time for me. So I remember I was barely sleeping. So when it came to studying, I would like fall asleep when I was writing my essays, or I'd start writing about brownies and cookies. I think you heard that in my TED talk. I
Yes.
remember so yeah, it was a lot of work, because I'm a person who loves being busy. I love having so much to do. I multitask really well. So it was like the adrenaline, and the rush of it was what kept me going.
And speaking to many entrepreneurs on my podcast now and off the podcast and listening to different stories, reading different stories, what every entrepreneur has in common is the passion and drive they have for what they're working on. And I think you had this, you had a lot of passion to what you were doing, that you were like, I'm gonna dedicate a lot of time to it and I'm gonna put the effort to get where I want to get to. Uh, So
Exactly.
you open your store, you start you were you were a store of one. How many people do you have hired right now?
So when I first started my shop, it was just me and like one person like
Okay.
helping me in the kitchen, helping me on the storefront. Now I have a team of around 20 people.
Okay. What do they do? What are their jobs in the store?
So basically, we have bakery clerks, so like people in the shop. We have sales, we have store manager. They take care of like taking orders from customers. We have our own delivery guys. We have our own driver, our cleaning staff, and I have my kitchen staff as well, which is made up from sous chefs, chefs, commis chefs, like different positions as well in the kitchen.
Okay. Uh, how old are you right now?
I'm 28 now.
Okay. And I don't mean, I know girls don't like people asking them how old they are. I don't mean it, but uh, how old are the people you hired?
So there are people who are like in their early 30s, people in their 40s. I have people who are in their, I think, 20s as well, like mid to late 20s. So
Okay.
like it's a mix of everything,
Right.
basically.
And the reason I'm asking you, you're a young entrepreneur and you're hiring people who are older than you, people who may have more experience than you. How did you deal with hiring these people?
So basically, okay, I have something with my, I hate the word staff,
Okay.
with my team, I'm gonna say, because like since I started, I had a lot of people who are my age, some people who are older, some people who are younger. But my what I focus so much on work is treating the environment in work to be very healthy. I hate going in and being like, I'm your boss, you're supposed to do what I say. I hate this. I don't like coming this way. Usually, like even when I want to ask something for my staff, it's like, please and thank you, like so many times. And I would never make someone older than me and my staff feel like, there's this girl younger than me coming and telling me what I have to do, or make them feel like why am I this age not running my business? Why am I
Mhm.
having to work for someone that's younger than me? I hate that. So it's I try to like always relate to my staff, always talk to them in the same tone, make them feel like we're on the same level. I think that's helped a lot. And there's so much respect, like back and forth, even if it's like, I'm not gonna say I don't get angry at stuff. Obviously, I have so much pressure. I'm running a business.
Right.
I want things in a certain way, but I give my instructions, and then sometimes I do get mad. Sometimes I feel like I maybe overreact over something because I have a lot going on. I just go and apologize to them and be like, listen, I'm sorry. Like you did this way. Please just make sure it doesn't happen again.
Okay.
So I feel like having so much like respect and understanding and communication between your team is very important.
Okay.
I don't think age becomes an issue
Right.
when that's the case.
Are you still, do you still take orders and cook and go produce the order, or are you more on the managing side right now? Because speaking to a lot of founders, when they start their, uh, if it's a tech startup, they're coding. If it's a retail startup, they're sourcing merchandise and selling them, they're doing the marketing. After 3-4 years of running the business, they take themselves out and become in a managing role. Where are you now in this phase of the business?
That's exactly that. I used to be like the person like answering the phone, like taking orders. Of course, I don't do that anymore. I still pass to the shop every once in a while because you need to keep like I spend like a day or two in the shop every like a few weeks or month because I need to see the operations. I need to make sure everything is going properly. I need to see how customers are being spoken to. When it comes to working in the kitchen, I don't anymore. I'm more on the managerial side, as you said. Our central kitchen and office are in the same location. So even when I'm in my office, I get to like go in and out of the kitchen, like see what's going on. Sometimes I enjoy doing things, or like if we have like during our high seasons, uh, even if we like are overstaffed and working overtime, it's never enough. So usually
Right.
during high season, like in there, like bun up, uh, like hands down, like in the chocolate inside the kitchen, basically.
What's the menu for now? You have two brands. You mentioned there's a central kitchen. Do both brands run from the same central kitchen?
Yes, they do.
Okay. What's the menu on Better from Scratch for people who don't know? Let's make people hungry right now.
Okay, so so basically better from scratch is like I'm not gonna say your traditional bakery, but you have a lot of like bakery items. So like from
Okay.
cupcakes to cookies to cakes, um, to we do like these giant cookies. We were the first people to do the breakable chocolate trend in Lebanon. I remember in 2018, Kim Kardashian did like her perfume inside the
Right.
chocolate, and we were the first ones who actually brought it to Lebanon. And we ended up like doing different shapes and everything because of it as well. So yeah, it's like everything you can think of in terms of like bakery items we have in Better from Scratch.
Okay.
Xndoughs, on the other hand, is mainly focused on donuts, ice cream, and raw cookie dough. So like the raw cookie dough that you can eat raw or bake,
Right.
basically.
And this is something I wanted to ask you about because I've been following your page for a year and I still haven't cracked the thing. So on it's X and dough. What? So the cookies you could bake them or you could eat them raw as is.
Yeah.
How did you come up with this?
I didn't come up with it. It's actually
Okay.
so basically eating raw cookie dough is like such a thing that people love to do, like since their childhood. Like if they're baking cookies, come to eat the raw cookie dough. But it's always our parents are like, no, there's eggs, you can get salmonella, you can't eat it. So it's something like I told you, like when I travel, I see a lot. So I remember there is these places in the States that started coming up with like being able to eat raw cookie dough in different flavors, and you can get it by the scoop and you can take it home or you can get it in a tub and whatever. So once I saw that, I knew that there was demand for it in the market here. And so we started testing it out just like with our chocolate chip flavor, and it was doing so well.
Okay.
Started introducing a bit more flavors until we developed an actual like FMCG line where now you can find them in supermarkets as well.
So
And we took it, yeah.
what we find in the supermarkets is the cookie, not the ice cream, or is it both? Are you selling both in
But
in
yeah,
supermarkets?
now it's the ice cream. Basically, we're
Okay.
signed with the distributor. So now it's the ice cream that's distributed like almost all over Lebanon. And with the same distributor, we're launching the cookie dough in supermarkets as well in the next coming month. But it's already available in our shop.
Okay.
It's available
Uh,
as top.
how did you get to be able to get into? I mean, if I look at the list that I have, you're almost in every single uh, big supermarket in Lebanon. If I'm looking, uh, you're really everywhere. How did you manage getting in there?
So
Like,
basically, I got signed with a with one of the biggest distributors in Lebanon.
okay,
And so they're the ones who are handling all the distribution. And
okay,
so I remember I actually reached out to them a few months ago and I was like, listen, like I have a local brand. Now, due to the situation in Lebanon, a lot of imported brands are being less imported into Lebanon because they're going to be very expensive to sell. It's tough importing stuff with like the dollar crisis and then inflation and everything. So I
right.
was like, this is an opportunity basically to create something that's very differentiated in terms of flavors, but making it locally.
Okay. Here's a question I have because now I'm working with someone who has a brand here in the F&B business here in the US to try to get them
Yeah.
into 7-Elevens, Walmarts, Targets, and I'm trying to reach out to distributors and all that. Uh, how tough is the process, or was it easy for you?
Basically, like having to sign with them was a lot of meetings, a lot of back and forth. They initially like they liked the brand when they first saw it,
Okay, okay.
so that was a plus. They saw
What
the
it,
potential.
In another way, when you went in, did you have a huge number of sales? You're like, okay, this is we have a huge demand. You guys should work with us, or was it just based on brand? What would you say the main factor that got you in?
It was based on brand. Like I remember they asked for brand presentation. Once they saw it, they're like, okay, like we're interested. You can come in and we can meet and we can talk. It wasn't really based on sales, I would say, because the year before we launched them in our shop and it was on a very small scale and like two supermarkets that we delivered to. Sales
Okay.
were very good. But now whatever you look at in terms of sales when it comes to the situation in Lebanon, it's not really impressive. But
Yes.
seeing, I think the potential for our brand, seeing how hard we work, like looking at our social media, I think they believed in the brand. That's what like got them excited, and they saw how invested we were in this.
Okay. Um, do you have plans of expanding outside of Lebanon?
I hope so. Currently working on that. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a while because I mean the market in Lebanon, no matter how much we grow or what we do, it's يعني, you're gonna reach a certain level and like this is it basically. And I feel like my brand has a lot more potential to grow further than this. So I've had people who have been interested in franchises and going in as partnerships, but it was like we'd have some talks and then it
Okay.
would fade out. So it was nothing serious that worked out
Okay.
yet. But hopefully, I feel like when the right opportunity comes,
Okay.
it comes in its time. So I hope so.
And by the way, I just want to, for anyone who's going to listen to this later on, Anghami started in Lebanon. They were small, they started in Lebanon, and then they went outside, and now they're listed on the exchange. So for me, if you're an entrepreneur in Lebanon, it's there's nothing wrong with starting in Lebanon, starting small, building your brand inside this tough market, challenges you're faced with every day. You
Yeah,
prove to yourself that you could build a business, and then once you go to any other country, it's gonna be easy for you. So
exactly.
I mean, and people should think in that mentality. We speak about Lebanon. You're an entrepreneur based in Lebanon. I saw, I think it was Optin on YouTube. He's very famous. He went to
Yeah,
your store, and you speak about
yeah.
the challenges. What are challenges you are facing as an entrepreneur now in Lebanon?
Anything and everything you can think. Like no matter now where you go, any problem that comes up, you've dealt with it here.
Okay.
Like from no water to no electricity to no generator to no diesel, no fuel for your delivery guys to deliver orders. We have dealt with everything in the past 2 years. You wake up every day, it's a constant struggle. You have we're selling ice cream, which is so risky, especially in summer.
Right.
Like so basically, in our shops, we have UPS generators just for our ice cream fridge because you obviously don't have electricity all the time and the generators are not on all the time. So once the generator is off, you have UPS for them. So if you forget one appliance on, like by mistake, you drain the battery out of your UPS, you have no electricity on your ice cream fridge, your ice cream is gonna melt. So like it's you're like walking on eggshells basically, having to run a business in Lebanon. But I was talking today to my operations manager and I was like, I'm so thankful. Like despite everything, we're still working really well. So I wouldn't give up on this because, like you said, I'm using Lebanon to build and grow my brand. I'm using it to learn. I'm using it to create what I want to create. So once I had the opportunity to go outside, I feel like I'm strong enough. Like I've dealt with everything. I'm ready, basically.
Okay. And learning how to deal with challenges is a big plus. So I know it's a tough environment for everyone living in the country. No electricity, no that, no this, but it makes you tougher in dealing with business stuff. Um, I'm coming down to my last three, four questions. Uh, we spoke about the brand. It's nice. It's amazing. You went into stores. What are some feedback reviews that you received from customers? You're like, oh, wait, I have to change what I'm doing. That was a harsh feedback. Have you received any of these?
Of course we do. Like you can never please everyone. And this is I was so tough on myself when I first started. I remember like the first few months, if I ever got a bad review, I'd like it would eat me up and I'd get so bothered and whatever. But now I know at the end of the day, once I'm giving it my all and my team is giving it their all, and I know from our end, like we're delivering everything up to the perfect standards that we can, and you still get a complaint, you can't please everyone no matter what. And I know for like I always say, I know for myself, if I go to a restaurant and I don't like something, it's fine, it happens.
Right,
I'm not going to come and like give a harsh comment because I know what it's like to have a business.
right.
But if it's critical feedback that we can actually improve, I'm always happy to hear it. Like for example, the ice cream cups now that we're distributing in supermarkets, so I had those produced in Turkey, and the person who was like having to deal with the like um
Very
basically putting order and like getting the
okay.
specifications of the cups, there had been a misunderstanding, I believe, because the cups that were delivered to us were not ones that are suitable for the freezer. So
Right.
once the ice cream cup is put in the freezer, the packaging starts to like crunch up, it starts to fade away a bit. And I mean, I have an order of like over 200,000 cups that I had delivered that I can't do anything about anymore, that are being distributed to supermarkets. So it was a bit annoying, and I was expecting to get like feedback about that. People didn't notice it as much. You do have certain people who did, but every time I see a picture, I'm like harsh on myself. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, like
I
I
could
was
have done
so
it
happy
better.
about the launch, but it's just that didn't happen. But I said it's fine. It's our first launch. We're working on improving it. I mean, being pissed about something or being
Right.
bothered is not going to change it. It's all about
Okay.
improving yourself for the next step.
If if I if I was your magic saver and there's three problems you're facing and you want to solve, what would you with your business? What would you tell me to go solve? What are like three main stuff or one item that like I need this problem to disappear?
Generator,
Just-
electricity. Literally, that's like our biggest, like as
Okay.
sad as it sounds, this is our biggest problem. It's our biggest issue. Like that is like number one. Something else I would say is the availability of raw material, which is really
Okay.
annoying because the fact again that a lot of stuff are not being imported anymore, or the cost of imported goods is really high, is frustrating.
Okay.
And the fluctuating dollar rate, because you have to change your prices every few days, which takes up a lot of time.
Right.
It's
Yes.
very annoying.
We spoke about your whole journey. You're here today. What are the main lessons you learned throughout?
Um, to be patient. Dealing with people is not easy at all. Having so many people that you are responsible for is not easy. So being patient, being optimistic, because you're going to be faced with so many challenges every day. And if you're not calm and if you don't have hope, you can give up so easily. It's always looking about the end goal. It's always looking that it's going to get better. It's going to get solved. There's always a solution. And basically never being satisfied, I think, with where you are.
Okay.
Like never being like, okay, like I reached my goal, like this is it, I'm done. For me, I'm never okay with where I am. Whenever I achieve something, I'm like, okay, on to the next thing. No, I still want to get there. I want to get there. I never see the finish line, basically.
Right.
Because if you do, then I feel like you're never going to improve. You're just going to be, خلاص, you're going to be satisfied with where you are. And that's not a way to grow your business.
And what you said is really important. I think as human, we have this in ourselves that once I reach a point, I'm like, okay, what's the next point? And that's usually in life. Like I'm done with school now. Okay, what's next? I'm done with
Yeah.
university now. What's next? I got my job now. What's next? And your love relationship, you date, you marry, and you're always looking for what's next. And it's important as a business owner, entrepreneur, someone who has passion for something to always look for the next step and make it and get there and do it in a better way. I I've really enjoyed our talk. What you're doing is great. I'm a big fan. I To be honest, I haven't tried either better from scratch or Xndoughs, but I promise I'm going to Lebanon in December, and I'm gonna pass by and
We're waiting
I'm gonna try it.
for
But what you're doing is great. We need more people to have this entrepreneurial mindset and go and build stuff in Lebanon and in the region because we have the talent and we could get places. Nahlan, thank you. Do you have any plugins? Do you want to give a shout out? Where could people follow you, get more? Are you hiring? Feel free.
Thank you so much to begin with. I was really happy. Thank you for giving me the platform to speak about this, to raise awareness also about like businesses in Lebanon. It really means a lot. Um, we're always growing. Whoever is interested can like check out our page, check out what we do. If you're interested in taking our brand abroad, get in contact with us. We're looking to do that as well.
Okay. Thank you very much one more time and have a good day.
Thank you, you too.